week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 357, Mr. Somich.
Tampa huzzah!
Tampa huzzah. I've got the mini laptop with the live stream going just so I can have fun in the comments section. And for a brief second, I was watching this and thinking this was where we were at, and that's a 10-second delay. And all of a sudden, I was like, the music cut out, and I was like, we're live. So, yeah, that's how my day's going so far.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Yeah. My day's been interesting. Gulfstream was so good and then so bad to me. So now we're just trying to salvage some qualifiers here and get through. So we need the 3 in the last. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, this one was brutal. The early pick 5 was kind of rough because we had the 15-1 shot as a must use. And then the 4-horse who looks home in the 4th just gets caught by this donkey of a 1-horse that I'm never going to use coming from Tampa to go to Gulfstream. And it's also like they switched it from turf to synth, and then you don't want the speed, but you had some speed. It's tough, man. It's tough sometimes. Frustrating. But hey, the $20 pick 5 paid $300 for 4 out of 5, which is always fun. But it would have been nicer to hit it.
You had the that 15-1 shot that came home. It was Mike and I earlier, if you didn't see over at the YouTube channel, the Captiva Island Stakes, which is the feature race Saturday at Gulfstream, which, by the way, is not supposed to get hardly any of the rain. Tampa's supposed to get Saturday. But Mike and I previewed that, and right before we were going to record, he says, hang on, I just want to watch this race at Tampa. The 15-1 shot comes home, and immediately in the background, just ding, 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 ding. All the Somobomb customers in the Magic Mike Army, you guys were hitting him up, and it was hilarious, and it was really awesome to see because Mike says, yeah, I get hit up, but to literally the last horses are crossing the line and Mike's phone's blowing up. Pretty cool.
I got to give credit to Aaron, too. Top pick on the site. The top free pick as well at that 15-1 shot. Both of us were all over that horse. I know Dr. Tang had it in the tournaments as well as a bunch of others here. So it's it was one of those horses that was somehow 15-1, even though a lot of people had it. So hopefully some people put some win money on it and cashed in there.
Usually if you and Aaron agree on a horse, you're not getting, you might get a long shot. You're not getting 15-1 on a horse like that, unless it's like some grade 1 crazy race. And I don't think grade 1 races are happening Gulfstream on Thursdays.
You never know. It's a champions meet, right?
That's true, I guess. Listen, we're going to be covering by popular demand the Tampa Bay Saturday pick 4. We were going to do the late pick 4, and then Mike caught this. Thankfully, they're doing an all stakes pick 4, which is actually races 8 through 11. So it's a 12 race card. Races 8 through 11 are all stakes. And the reason we made that shift is they're calling for 100% chance rain, thunderstorms all morning at Tampa. This sequence already has 2 turf stakes races in it. The finale is supposed to be on turf. I still want to talk about it because there is a horse that I really love at a price that if the horse ever does go on turf, I want to talk about him, but we'll do that at the end of the show. So we do have the all stakes 1 and 2 of them on dirt. And that first one is funky. We'll say
so interesting. I'm glad that you were willing to switch because my boy Wolfie's Dynaghost is in there. Which I knew
that's why. I
love this horse. I bet this horse like 4 of the 8 races it's run. It's the reason I got to the final table in HC. So I love me some Wolfie's Dynaghost. It got that day started on day 2. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about him. But it's an interesting mile in the 16th race. It's a grade 3. So I'm glad that you bent to my will here and wanted to cover a grade 3 dirt race instead of a maiden special weight that's going to rain off the turf. I appreciate you bending to common sense there.
It was funny before we even got live. Brett was the first one to start a conversation. Paco versus Irad. Who's the more dangerous rider? Paco Lopez getting 14 days for that bullshit ride on In Due Time. And that begins Sunday, which conveniently happens to be the day after Tampa Bay Derby Day, which he's got a lot of mounts for. And, oh, by the way, he can still ride on the stakes on Florida Derby Day. So a bunch of bullshit, but it was kind of funny because, then it turned to wrestling and 2 men enter, 1 man survives. Steel cage match scheduled in San Antonio next Wednesday on AEW Dynamite.
No, I'm serious, man. This is another idea of mine. I'm glad that Golden Gate listened to me, had a mandatory Monday and crushed it. That pool went huge. PDJF, Celebrity Boxing jockey matchups. You would crush. You could do a pay-per-view. You could do this live somewhere. You would kill it if you got, obviously the Ortizes wouldn't fight each other, but if you had celebrity boxing and it was Paco and it was Irad and you got Flavian and Umberto and you've got I don't know, man, DeSormo and Bravo, like you could come up with some pretty fun matchups with just haymakers being thrown between these jockeys. And I guarantee you they'd love to blow off some steam. And on top of that, I mean, I know I would pay for a ticket to that. It'll be a lot of fun.
I just had a brilliant idea for how we can actually make this work and still make a ton of money for great causes. You make it a voting system and you literally vote with your dollars. So let's say you can make up here are the 10 jockeys or 8 jockeys who've agreed to do this. And literally any combination, what is it? You figure out how many combinations that is, but you can make that combination and bet or put in donate how much money you want. So let's say you really want to see Irad versus Paco, and you're like, I would pay $10,000 to see that. You literally do that. And then whoever are the top 4 matchups that make the most money, that's your card. And all of the money that was donated, that's what's given to charity.
I would love to see how much Irad would put in to fight Paco, and then how much Paco would drop at the last second to not fight Irad. Paco's like, I'll take Leperoux. He puts in 40 grand at the last second just so he can fight Leperoux instead of Irad. It would be amazing. I love that idea. It's a great idea.
Would Paco be like all 4 matches on the card, or is he going to just be exhausted?
I would assume you can only do 1 match per person, or else Paco's just taking heaters all night. But yeah, it would be interesting, man. I think that'd be a lot of fun. You could do it in Saratoga, and you could do it at Del Mar instead of the karaoke thing. The karaoke thing is crushed too, so keep doing that too. You should also have a celebrity golf tournament, but hey. Who am I to say anything? Anyway.
Too many good ideas, Mike. Stop. They're going to ban us from horse racing. Way too many good ideas in one show, especially for the Magic Mike show. We've already hit our limit for the year.
Yeah. And as Aaron says, let's say something stupid then. I'm super happy baseball is back.
Yeah, I saw that alert. Like ESPN, my phone blew up and it was like alert. And I was like, oh, shit, it's NHL trade deadline season. I turned on all the alerts for that. And it's like MLB and MLB, a tentative agreement. Fuck off. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, the only positive is I no longer have to see that there is a blockout on my timeline anymore. Like that's about it.
I'll get into it. Let's talk about it real quick because I don't need to get into details. The best thing that I saw since our last show on Monday, that Obi-Wan trailer, I watched it 4 times before I managed to send it to you, the link to you, because I was like, God, this is so good. And I know you weren't a big fan of the Boba Fett series, so you're pretty excited that this is like a palate cleanser for you.
Well, yeah, like Boba Fett was just bullshit, man. Like it was not at all what was promised. It was just a clunky effort with flashbacks and flash forwards. And when you have the opportunity to really expand a universe and you just fall flat on your face, it's kind of a bummer after you successfully expanded it with Mandalorian. This looks like it's just a fastball, meatball as the baseball. Keep the baseball thing rolling. It's just a meatball right down the plate. If you can't hit this out of the park, you gotta check your I don't know, your producer's hat at the door, because this is you'd fail pretty hard here if this isn't really good. And the trailer looks amazing, so I'm excited about it.
And the one woman, Deborah Chow, directing all 6 episodes. You don't have the weird Robert Rodriguez, hey, I'm gonna have all my buddies come in this episode. Nothing really makes sense kind of shit. So best thing that you saw, Mike?
I got nothing, so let's just kick it off here.
You sure it wasn't baseball? I thought you were gonna be like, no, it really was baseball.
I could say the Blues, but they suck again, so we're not gonna go with that route. So let's just yell Riders up and let's start picking some horses.
Riders up. All right, Mike, kicking off the all-stakes pick 4 at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday, March 12th. Remember, this is races 8 through 11, and race 8 is the Grade 3 Michelob Ultra Challenger Stakes. I actually feel bad. I'm drinking a Bud Light instead of Michelob Ultra. If I had Ultra, I'd drink it, but I don't. We have here a field of 10 older males going a mile and 16th on the dirt. A question for you, did you find handicapping this race to be a challenge?
Challenging? I mean...
the Challenger Stakes? Is it
you're trying to be cute. Your microphone's sucking right now. I don't know what you did to it, but it doesn't sound great. Look, this I did not think was the easiest race. You have 2 horses here you got to focus on, Greatest Honor and Dynamic One, which is where a lot of the money's going to end up. I'm not really sure I love either of them. I know I don't like Dynamic One at all, so you're going to have to explain to me why the hell you use this horse on your ticket. I didn't see abundance of speed here. I thought a lot of the better horses were going to come from off the pace. Because of that, I kind of gravitated toward a speed horse on top here. It's funny, I made fun of this horse for a while, specifically because of the number it received on June 4th back at Belmont. But Cody's Wish came out of that Mahamal asking for Baskin race that we literally knocked for a good month straight. I'm going to put Cody's Wish on top here. This is one of those classic Mott horses where this horse should just keep getting better when it goes longer. The Vindictive Pipeline race, which Cody's Wish ran third of, actually came back really strong. That was the only time this horse has gone 2 turns. You got to remember those Churchill Mile races are all 1 turn. That Belmont race is 1 turn. This is a Curlin out of a Tappet mare. Dance Card is a very good horse in her own right. I mean, to me, this is just a horse that should keep improving. And I love the fact that you get Sayas aboard. This is probably the fastest horse in the field, or at least one of them. The horse to the inside might have something to say to that. But at Tampa, you want to be forwardly placed, especially going 2 turns. And then you look at like Dynamic One. It's a plotter. And yeah, he's going to be running late. But if they're not going that fast and Tampa doesn't play to closers, are we really sure that that horse is going to make a big move? So for me, I went to Cody's Wish at 8-1 on top. That was my only must use in the race. I am going to go 4 deep in this spot, though. Did you use Cody's Wish, or did you leave him off your ticket?
So I went 3 deep. So I did 2 tickets. I actually have a 50 center and a $5 ticket, and the $5 is more expensive than the 50 center. And my must use and my top pick here is going to be the 9 Cody's Wish for trainer Bill Mott, jockey Luis Saez. Yeah, no, you nailed everything about this horse. I love it. I don't understand a reason not to love this, other than if you think the 8-1 is a pipe dream and maybe you don't love him as much. But yeah, no, I'm with you on Cody's Wish. I'll talk about it real quick because Dynamic One is only on the 50 center. It needs a defensive use. He's not on the $5 ticket. I'm using him defensively because if it ends up being a really sloppy track, it's not just that he has that win over a good, not sloppy track in the Curlin Stakes, but in the mud, he still had a nice work. It didn't seem like he hated it when he was at Palm Beach Downs about a month ago. I think that with Irad riding, it's one of those things that, like, I don't want this horse to completely kill me here because there are a couple long shots that I like later in the card. So I'm going to use him defensively. But again, he's off the $5 ticket because he feels like a plotter, and a lot of these are going to have to come back to him.
Yeah, he is 0 for 3 going a mile and 16th or shorter. All his success is coming at a mile and an eighth or a mile and a quarter. The last thing I want is a horse coming off a layoff going shorter distances when it's consistently going longer, right? Especially against a grade 3 field. It's not like we're coming back against an optional allowance and we just tower over this field. This is a spot where this horse is going to be just isn't very good going this short. And this short, it's a mile and 16th, seems kind of silly. But if you look at the races, the Dynamic One is one. The big races, it's the Wood going a mile and an eighth at Aqueduct. It's the Curlin going a mile and an eighth at Saratoga. I mean, he wants to go longer. And so I kind of think a mile and a quarter is too short for this horse who's going to try and close into it. Jared in here mentions wrong speed horse. It's like, this is interesting. I'm not using Wolfie's Dynagos because I don't think Dynagos is a speed horse. So I'm not going to go to Wolfie's here. I did have Greatest Honor as the second pick here, the 3 horse. To me, this is a horse that just looks like he's ready to come back for a big effort here. This is, for me, an aggressive spot from Shug here, coming right back after a long layup into a grade 3. This horse has a little more tactical speed. It's been successful at a mile and a quarter, even at Gulfstream Park, where it's tough to do that with that short stretch coming from off the pace. So I think Greatest Honor, if we can improve off of those kind of 3-year-old numbers and come back here stronger as a 4-year-old, is definitely a player. The other speed horse I like was Scalding the 8, who I think is clearly your speed of the speed, has won over the track. Yeah, it's a monster step up. But note that Shug has this horse in here. So you got Greatest Honor in here, and you're also entering Scalding. I think that's really interesting. So if I'm going to play Greatest Honor, I think Scalding has to make the ticket in that sense. Did you use either of the Shugs in this spot?
I did not. I didn't use. I did not use Greatest Honor. I can't stand that horse. I think he's gonna take a lot of bad money here. And listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I didn't like him last year as a 3-year-old. Don't like him here.
So who do you think goes off as the favorite?
Who do I think goes off as the favorite? I think it's. I'm not making a bet, so don't even start.
No, come on.
No, I'm not doing that.
You're whipping out before you even get a chance to. It's unbelievable.
I thought about using Scalding a little bit, but my issue with Scalding is that the race that he's coming out of is not very strong. The horses he's been facing, not that great. So, like Waxman, who beat him in that race 2 back when he was still a maiden. His race when he came back in the stakes, he was completely terrible. So I think he was 5th, beating 8 lengths in that spot. So I didn't use him. Scalding I would use over Greatest Honor, but couldn't put him on the ticket. Okay. Did you hit? We hit all of yours, right? Yeah. No, wait. You want to talk about the 5 horse stopper?
Yeah, so I end up going 4 deep here. And the other horse that I'm going to use here is the 5-horse War Stopper. Sorry, I'm watching the last at Gulfstream. I need the 3 in tournaments. He won for fun, so we're happy about it. 5-horse War Stopper here. This is the other Pletcher. I believe there's 2 Pletchers here. Anyway, this is a horse where you kind of look back, and this came out of the Candyman Rocket race where Jared picked that horse, and we were on the live stream. We didn't end up using it in the pick 4. Jared liked Candyman Rocket, but we all thought that race was a good race. Okay, the fact that War Stopper was the favorite, okay, so we got bet there. But the fact that he didn't run great and Pletcher puts him back in a grade 3 tells me all I need to about how like tuned up War Stopper was for that spot. I don't think you saw a fully cranked War Stopper. Now we're getting second off a layoff, and it was a long layoff, June to February here. I think you can expect this horse to take a monster step forward. Love the fact that we've got tactical speed, again, on a track that you want to be closer to the pace. And with a race that there's not a ton of pace in, the fact that War Stopper is going to be able to sit right behind that first flank of leaders, get first run on them, to me makes him awfully dangerous. So I do think using the 5 War Stopper makes a ton of sense in here. So I'm going to end up 4 deep. I'm going to go 3, 5, 8, 9.
I don't love the fact that Size is on. I mean, I love that he's on Cody's Wish. If I like the 5, I don't know how much I love that he has been on before and is a regular Toddster. But now we're going with Manny Franco, who 13% with Todd, but is definitely not one of his go-to guys. I did consider him, and if you subscribe to the, Pletcher's got 2 in here, so you got to use both of them. Mike's ironically, you and I are using them. I would make the case for my 3rd horse and the other one that's on my $5 ticket. I'm just going to go ahead and use the chat because Jared is making all the cases for me for Wolfie's Dynaghost. How does Wolfie not go? Draws the rail top, time form, early speed, 2 for 2 at the distance, 1 in the slop last year. You're getting 10-1, and reliable Paco, the safest rider around. Thanks, Jared.
I'll put my Wolfie's Dynaghost hat on here.
Wow.
Some flex on that.
Look at this flex right there. Look at this flex.
I love Wolfie's Dynaghost. I just don't love Wolfie's Dynaghost on dirt. I think that's the biggest issue. Like, and to me, it's I don't think that he's nearly as good of a horse on dirt as he is on turf. This is a full to Sadler's joy. I've talked about it quite a few times because I love this horse. I love Wolfie's Dynaghost. I cannot say how much I love Wolfie's Dynaghost. I had him when he broke his maiden at 33-1. Had him when we talked about, this is like the original stable up horse a long time ago. I just don't know why he's on dirt, man. Like, that to me is the big, the synthetic plays toward turf. That's why he took so well to it. It was an incredible effort to be able to hold on and be able to win on the lead because he went fast, took a ton of pressure, and everything everyone's saying in the track in the chat is correct. The horse has speed. He probably will send. He's dangerous from that inside post. So it's just the dirt part of this is my biggest issue here with Wolfie's Dynaghost.
It might have to do with the fact that Gulfstream Park doesn't have a stakes on synthetic, but of course they've got all the turf stakes, so you would think synthetic leans towards turf. He's done well on the turf as well. And also to the point, the sloppy race that he did win at Belmont Stakes going a mile and a 16th, that was a 1 turn. It was also against off-turf horses. So it was a race that was rained off, so at least some of the competition there not meant for the dirt necessarily. So
4.5 to 1. I love Wolfie's Dynaghost. I wish I could pick him. And Jared brings up a good point. Look, if this thing is super sloppy and there's some other changes we can make, Wolfie's may make a ticket because at some point I love this horse so much we may end up on there. I think this horse, I think you're going to see Wolfie's get bet because it's Wolfie's Dynaghost. Of course the horse is going to get bet. I don't think this horse can wire this field on dirt. That's the biggest issue. The on dirt part of this is the biggest issue for me.
Well, listen, Mike and I both our top picks, the number 9 Cody's Wish, and it might be a wish that we get 8-1, but if we do, looking pretty good. Let's move on. The second leg of the All-Stakes Pick 4 at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday, March 12th. We're now going to go to the Grade 3 Florida Oaks, scheduled to go on the 16th on the turf. And again, expecting rain. I handicapped this that the stakes races for the turf were going to be on the turf. Fingers crossed that ends up happening. No guarantees, but it's interesting. You have 2 Chad Brown horses in here. They get the Ortiz brothers. The 3, Dolce Zell is a French bred who's making her North American debut here. You're like, hey, get an eye red. Probably going to be a great horse. Jose rides Spicer. Neither of these horses is the first or second choice on the morning line. This is kind of crazy to me here.
So you expected both Browns to be the chalk here?
I thought Dolce Zell would be, before I saw the morning line.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Michael Dubb Madacat horse coming in from overseas. Chad Brown's 35% right now, first time North America, 7 for 20, so it's a decent sample size. All the numbers fit. I'm using the 3. I went 3 deep here. I thought this race was I mean, I don't want to say fairly easy, but I thought it was one where I really don't think there's that many horses that can win the race. Top pick for me was actually the 7 horse, A Little Love and Luck. One thing that you learn about watching or playing tournaments at Tampa Bay Downs, if you think speed's good at Gulfstream, go watch the turf course at Tampa, because holy shit, it's amazing. So you want to make sure you have whoever is on or close to the lead. That's the 7 horse here. Paco is going to send. Paco could have a day here if he's willing to just go to the lead at Tampa Bay all day. He should send and get a pretty comfortable lead in this spot. I think A Little Love and Luck is really dangerous loose up front. So I'm going to use the 7, A Little Love and Luck. And then, I mean, like the 2 Browns both make sense. I mean, this is Spicer coming back in a spot which I think is reasonable, and Dolce Zell, who's coming overseas, and you get Irad up for the connections that you would expect this horse to fire. So for me, I think it's 3, 6, 7. You don't really need to go anywhere else.
Well, we agree on the 7, A Little Love and Luck. I tell you, when I handicapped this, I didn't have the morning lines, and I thought for sure, I'm like, the Chads are going to take money. So I made cases in my head to play against them, and so I didn't use them. I'm not using them. I do like A Little Love and Luck. I thought you touched on all the answers well there. Number 9, Ambitious at 3-1, the morning line favorite, actually, which surprised me a little bit. For Grand Motion, Manny Franco going to get first-time Lasix here. She went maiden special weight to the Grade 3 Swedish Chant. When we talk about with Motion, this isn't a trainer who likes to do that very often. He's not super aggressive. She finished a late running second to an experienced multiple stakes placed rival. So it was a very talented horse at that moment who beat her. And unlike the new Chad horse that's coming in here, Dolce Zell, this one has plenty of experience at 2 turns. I love that Motion debuted her at 2 turns, just like Mike Dini did with A Little Love and Luck. Another reason to like that horse. Manny Franco, only 5 rides so far to me, but has a win, 4 on the board effort. So he's doing very well. Obviously, so is Irad. He's 5 for 10 starting today at Tampa. So he's got his own good stats. But I'm going to use Ambitious, and I'm kind of drawing the line with the 9 and the 7 over the 2 Chads and the 7.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. You got to decide which way you want to go. If you're going to use one Chad, you kind of have to use both in this spot since you get both Ortiz brothers. Yeah, Dolce Zell, I remember last week it was AE at Gulfstream as well, didn't end up drawing in. So you know that he Brown thinks pretty highly of the horse if he's doing that. To me, the other one, and this horse is getting some love in here, the one Mrs. Barbara. I agree. This one's really interesting. This was my 4th horse in and my last horse off the ticket. I'm at $48. If you want a single in the last Classic Causeway, the one Mrs. Barbara would be the horse that I would be putting on instead of going too deep in that last spot. This horse run well up in Woodbine, been in a couple graded stakes the last 2 times out. Or 2 of the last 3 out, including the Grade 3 Marzini and the Grade 1 Natalma. That one, Natalma, was won by Wild Beauty. The second place horse was Pizza Bianca, who came back to win at the Breeders' Cup. And the one horse, Mrs. Barbara, ended up running 4th in that spot. Won a maiden special weight off that on the synth. Came back and was successful in the Grade 3 in the synthetic. So I think Mrs. Barbara's live. And anytime Hernandez gets on a Cassie horse, it seems like it's a pretty good combination in the state of Florida. So I wouldn't talk anyone off the one. I decided to go too deep in the last instead of singling Classic Causeway. That was why the one fell off my ticket.
My last horse on, and I went for the $5 ticket. I just used those first 2, the 7 and the 9. 50 center. I'm going to add the 5 Sweet Duchess at 10-1. I think she's a little sneaky in here. And again, I handicapped this, believing that the Chads aren't going to fire enough to win. I like this horse. She took huge steps forward once we tried the turf. She's basically a head away from being 2 for 2 over the local turf. So she has that advantage over the rivals like Chads that bringing in that are haven't tried it before. Will Take Charge is a 14% turf route sire. That's above average. The Dam was 3 for 7 turf routing. They were all allowance level, so had some class there. This is specifically a class test for her to face these horses, including the Chads, but I like that there's a bigger field than what she faced last time out. I didn't think that she had enough that she could really chase to be able to get the victory. So it gives me hope that she's coming from off the pace. It's just a matter of, are the Chads going to fire or not? And if they don't, I think she's got about as good a shot as anybody.
I mean, I don't hate it. If you're knocking both Chads out, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's a pretty aggressive move. Yeah, the 5's numbers fit. Like, that's the thing. If you're taking away from both of them, if you assume they're not going to get improvement, then the 5 and the 7, and really the 8, have the best numbers in this field. So I don't disagree with the move on using the 5 if you're going to chuck the Chads out. I think it's aggressive to throw out the Chads when you get both Ortizes on them.
What a world where you're using 2 Chad Browns. I'm chucking both of them. And by the way, I'm not only going against you directly, I'm going against Nick Feldman. And this always works out very well for me. I'm excited.
Didn't you have a rule about chucking Chad, Irad, and Matacat? Wasn't there a rule about
No,
that?
It was Klarovich.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
Klarovich doesn't still support Bob Baffert. So
you can make the rule once this horse wins for fun, then we can make the second rule.
Listen, tune in Monday. We might have new rules to talk about. Third leg of the All-Stakes Pick 4 at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday, March 12th. Race 10. We're going back to, we're staying on the turf, hopefully. The Columbia Stakes, this is the 3-year-old male version, except it's not, because why is this a mile and 16th shorter than I don't understand it. But you got 9 3-year-old males in here. Who are you going with on top?
Okay, this one was, again, I'm all about speed in these spots. And the 2 speed horses happen to be the 2 horses ridden by the Ortiz brothers. What happens when 2 speed horses ridden by the Ortiz brothers are the only speed in a race? One of them gets a lone lead. I think it's the 5, so the 5 is on top. I think he's going to wire the field. But my 2 must-uses are the 2 Ortiz horses that are on the speed, because either the 2 or the 5 is loose. I don't know which one it is. I think it's the 5, but I'm going to use the 2 and the 5 as my 2 must-uses, because one of them will be loose, and the other will be the other Ortiz blocker just plodding along behind him, allowing that one to go wire to wire.
Yeah, we do not agree one iota in this race here.
What?
Nope. We did not.
Who do you like?
You went 4 deep, but I didn't touch any of them.
Who did you use?
The 3 Kitten Mischief. Tell me how the hell you didn't use the 3 Kitten Mischief. This is a horse that is buy into Mischief out of Kitten's Joy mare that has never tried turf, that was trying the Triple Crown Trail. Unlike a Dale Romans or Kenny McPeak, Jonathan Thomas went, oh, this horse doesn't belong here. Let's put him where he does belong. Puts him into a spot. Turf routing. I'm getting 4-1. This horse is, if this horse takes to the turf, which everything says that he should, and if we stay on the turf, this could have been a single for me. This horse I absolutely love. Into Mischief, 14% turf outsider. The Dam won 5 stakes, 3 at the grade 3 level, all going long on turf. I don't get why you're not using this horse, buddy. I really don't.
Well, you actually bring up some very good points. The fact that it hadn't tried the turf was the main reason for me, but the Kitten's Joy is on the bottom, so I won't knock you too hard about it.
He tried on debut and it was rained off.
Yeah.
He tried on debut. That's a Mike Somich angle. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he did try on debut. I mean, I'm not going to knock you on him. I'd love to know if he drew in off the AE or not on that race, actually. But anyway,
I'll look that up while you.
Because he was 9 of 10 in that race, and so it'd be interesting, and if because it's Aqueduct, if how many horses were 80 or not. Anyway, I actually don't dislike your 3 at all. I think you make some pretty good points around it. I just decided to go in different directions. I'm concerned the horse doesn't have a ton of speed, although he has shown some tactical speed in both of the dirt mile races. So we'll see where he is from an early pace perspective. That's one that I would definitely consider here, especially if we come off the turf. I'd be all over that 3. But if we're on the turf, the 3 is still interesting. I didn't use it on my ticket. Maybe I'll put it on instead of the 9 here. Have to make a call there. The 6 horse was my next one on Fort Washington. This is a Peter and Brand horse. Shug McGaughey's training, Warfront. This is the first time out as a 3-year-old. Both those 2-year-old efforts were absolutely monstrous. I remember this horse's debut, Fort Washington. It was touted early in its career. Ran well first time out at Belmont, just wasn't able to get the job done. It pretty much had, I think it was 4 horses right across the wire there in that race, and it just couldn't get up. The second race had a nice turn of foot, was able to get the job done at Aqueduct. This horse has been training very, very well. Workouts 2 and 3 back were both bullets. I think it's all systems go for the 6 horse Fort Washington. It's going to be rolling from off the pace here, first time out as a 3-year-old.
I actually was going to use the 6, and then when I went back and checked after the morning lines came out, it was too chalky for me to keep going. So the 6 hit the cutting room floor for me. I don't love the fact that of the horses that were in that race, 11 horses that he beat last time out, 9 of them have run back. Only 2 of them have won. The one that did win on turf got a 68 buyer. The one that did it, the other one was on dirt versus 30K claimers. So far hasn't been a strong effort. Not to say the horse, just beat a bunch of crap that day. I did look up, by the way, it's funny you bring up Fort Washington. That race that was rained off the turf for Kitten Mischief. Kitten Mischief was not a main track only entry. Fort Washington was in it and scratched out of it. So Fort Washington, they were like, we're not going to run if it's going to be in the mud. So that also might give you a clue if they take this off the turf Saturday, what's going to happen.
Yep.
Sorry, was that it for you, for your horses?
I'm using the 9 as well.
Okay.
Electrostatic. And I don't know, maybe I'll put your 3 in instead. This is one of those horses I just think is really interesting. I mean, it's an absolute bomb. So it's 12-1. I think you're gonna get every bit of that, probably even a little bit more. The buyer number came back at 59, winning 1 mile going over Colonial. So that like it's not anything that just blows you away on paper, but it's one of those that's just really interesting placement to me here. Delacour could have put this horse in a lot of spots, and to bring this horse back off a long layoff, which by the way, 43%, smaller sample size, just 14 runners, but 43% is still pretty darn good. And put him into this spot is just really, really aggressive. You got to think the horse is going to take a step forward off of that first effort. It has to take a big one to be able to be competitive, but just one of those spots where when you have horses like this coming in, and I don't think this field is like a world beater field, I'm willing to take a shot at a horse that's about around 12-1. And I think I'm going to get 15 or 20-1, maybe even more in the pick 4 in a spot like this. So Electrostatic to me is one of those long shots that it's a head scratcher enough that I want to include it on my ticket.
Yeah, I don't hate it at 12-1. I didn't use, but I kept looking at this going, I don't really get. But then I see the 43%. What is that? 6 for 14 coming off this kind of a layoff. I'm like, well, that's not a joke. 14 is a small sample size, but it's enough of a sample size.
It's just one of those, like, you look at it and and you know the horse has talent. I mean, the stud Midnight Storm stands for $7,500. This horse sells for $185,000. So it's not like the horse didn't show precociousness early on in its career to be able to sell for that much, especially with that large of a multiplier. So you got to think there's some talent inside that 9, and then you see the win, and this is the spot we come back in. And Delacour's not a moron; he's a good trainer. So you're getting a good trainer with a top jockey who knows the turf course well, and you're getting a price in a spot where I think it's going to be largely ignored because you've got really 4 horses that make a ton of sense in this spot. So maybe we can get a big bomb home with a 9 here.
I want to, but before I give it, I went too deep here. Before I get into that, Ashley had brought up a question earlier about if there's anything on dirt that we like. Do you want to, after we go through the pick 4, touch back on that later, or do you want to do it now?
You mean by like horses from this race if it's rains off?
The two turf stakes races in case it get rained off. Is there anyone right now that we like?
Yeah, I mean, well, let's finish up this race with who else you used on your ticket, because I'm assuming you didn't single the 3, and then let's talk the 2 races on turf and who we like on the dirt.
Because I didn't want to forget. I already told her I was going to forget about. So the other horse that I used, and I'm singling on the $5 ticket with 3, but on the 50 center, I'm going to use the 8 Gingrich as well. And again, this is handicapping, assuming we're going to be on soft turf. It's exactly what this horse broke his maiden on at Keeneland last October by 2.5 lengths. Only seen him once since then in the Dania Beach Stakes, or the Dania Beach Stakes. I always say that wrong. The Dania Beach Stakes, and ran 4th. Just kind of ran in place a little bit. But if you look at that Dania Beach Stakes, all 5 of them have come back to run since then. 3 of them won, including the winner, Grand Sonata, repeated in the Kitten's Joy Stakes. So that, or was it the Palm Beach? One of those 2 repeated in his stakes next out. And I don't know whether a lot of horses in this field, if it stays on turf, if they're going to like if it's soft turf or not. But I know this one will, and I know he's coming out of a key race there. I'm getting 4-1, getting Luis Saez aboard. And then I assume if we're rained off, Luis Saez, this horse is scratching, he's going to jump on the 7.
Yeah, I looked at this horse for a little while. I just couldn't get there with the other horses in here. It feels like you need to take a step forward, and that everything that Dania Beach, I mean, they did not go fast at all. And this was the one horse that faded off that pace. And so for me, like when we look at the chart, we often say they ran in a circle and this one horse closed. We're going to upgrade that horse. Well, if they run in a circle and one horse quit,
someone's got to go the other way.
I'm downgrading that horse. And so this was the situation where Gingrich was the one horse who could kind of quit out of it. So I downgraded the 8 because of it. So I didn't end up on the ticket.
No, absolutely fair. Okay, so if this is going to be rained off, we both, I think, I speak for you, we both really like the 3 in this spot. Is there anyone from this race 10, that if it's rained off, you like?
Race 10. So that's the one we're on right now. Yeah, for me, it would mainly be the 3. I think the 6, Warfront, obviously, is a good off-turf sire, wet sire. We've seen that a couple times. So the 6 might be a little interesting, but because it's scratched out, as you mentioned, that definitely brings some concern in here. You kind of have to respect these, like the 7 horse, who would probably become the de facto speed if the 5 comes out, which you assume he would. I forgot to mention one more thing. And which I'll bring up now. So for me, it would be the 3 or the 7, specifically depending on the 7. If the 5 is out, I like a lot more because then the 7 becomes lone speed. Huge angle on the 5. You know how we often make fun of jockeys, like Lannery off as an angle? Asmussen off is a huge angle here. You're going from Asmussen as a training a turf horse to Shug training a turf, to Clement training a turf horse. That's a huge upgrade.
I mean, I did notice that. I love that you just had to bring it back to give one more dig at the ass man.
Well, I'm not digging him. I'm just saying that he's a significantly worse turf trainer than Christophe Clement. That's not a dig. That's just it's a factual thing.
Let's roll it back real quick here. The Grade 3 Florida Oaks. If this field were to be taken off the turf, is there anyone that you would like on the dirt?
Yes, this one I think is awfully spicy with some of these pedigrees. Spicer, I didn't even mean to do that. The 6-horse, quality road out of a curling mare. Yeah, slop me up there. Yeah, right. And then both the 8 and the 9 are interesting. Both Magna de Oro. The 8 has Bernardini on the bottom. The 9 Distorted Humor. Both of those are solid mud track pedigrees. The 6-horse is just like chef's kiss. The 8 and the 9 are both strong in the mud track pedigree. So it'd be 6, 8, 9 for me. And I would probably go shorter if this field ends up being like 5, which I think it might if it rains off. I may just single the 6.
Excuse me, sorry about that. That's a beer drink. I actually like the 2, and you can look back and say, well, the one time the horse tried slop was you guys a 0 buyer. And first of all, they kept the horse in when it was rained off for an allowance N2. It wasn't like a big thing. Also, the horse bobbled at the start and was never engaged and got kickback. And this is a horse that, based on her past performances, likes to come from behind. So, if she gets coming from behind, there's kickback and she hates it again. Okay, we learned our lesson, but I like the fact that they kept this horse in when it was sloppy at Keeneland. I think that this could be a little sneaky. You've got a Giants Causeway as the super sire, the sire's sire. And then also the 1 is a son of Bodemeister, or daughter of Bodemeister, who himself is a son of Empire Maker. And if you see Empire Maker on the form for wet, it's like, yes, that one right there.
Like I don't like this horse at all. So I'm not going to give you any love for it. But all right.
Mean the 2 horse you're talking about?
Yeah, the 2 horse on the mud, to me, is not an upgrade. To me, it's like it's a horse that has no giddy up, that in a race with little pace on a track that would favor speed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anywho, let's go on to the 11.
Let's move on. The final race of the all stakes pick 4 sequence, race 11, the headlining event, the Grade 2 Tampa Bay Derby. 50 points on the line to the winner for the Kentucky Derby Trail. 20 to second, 10 to third, 5 to fourth, and of course your heavy favorite 8 to 5. Good luck. The 4-horse Classic Causeway, coming off of that impressive win over this course and distance in his 3-year-old debut in the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis Stakes. However, he has not tested a wet track before. He is a son of Giants Causeway. You'd think that he'd be okay with it, but other horses like Shipsational, they do have that proven wet form. So what are you doing on top?
Oh, I'm going to eat that chalk with Classic Causeway. Look, this is, and it's funny because I'm going to bring up Newgrange. It kind of feels like a Newgrange scenario where it's like, I really didn't want to pick Classic Causeway. But the more you dig into it, you kind of like Classic Causeway. And so, yeah, I kind of like Classic Causeway. Now, the mud obviously brings in another factor here, and there's a lot of horses who would probably love an off track in this spot. So that you got to decide where you want to shrink up the ticket, and if you want to go deeper in here, if there is an off track, because horses like Happy Boy Rocket, the 3, horses like Golden Glider, the 6, they would love the mud. I mean, Constitution with the 8, Major General will probably be into the mud. So it's you even have a Practical Joke and Hard Spun are both good mud sires too. So there's a lot of horses that would seem to take a step forward on the mud here, but none of them are as good as Classic Causeway, and that's really what it all comes down to me. Like, that last race was really impressive in my mind. I thought that, if you go watch the live reaction, I thought he was going way too fast. I thought someone was going to come from behind and be able to pick him up, and no one could. And then you look at, okay, so let's say I just cross off the horses that he's already beat, or I feel like I have a good take on. That means I'm looking at like the 11 Money Supply, the 8 Major General. That means that, it's the 3 Happy Boy Rocket, the 1 Grantham. Who are the new shooters in here? And I'm not overly impressed by any of them. I am going to use one of them in my ticket to go too deep. But to me, there's not an abundance of talent that's showing up to take him on here, and that's the biggest issue.
I'm going to use for him. This is a single on the $5 ticket. I went too deep for 50 cents, but for Classic Causeway, I think I'd use the same argument that I'm going to use in a couple of weeks for Louisiana Derby and Epicenter, which is most of this field, a lot of this field, he's already beaten, and the ones that he hasn't don't scare me really, not that much. So it's really hard for me to find. You have to work really hard to make a solid case against him here. The other horse I didn't use is not Happy Boy Rocket, but I did see JL, all the things on Happy Boy Rocket, play him in the future pool. He's like, his odds are huge right now. So I think 300 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you like him to win this race, play him at 301 in a future pool somewhere. If you can do that. The other horse I use is actually the bottom of the screen there, the 7 Strike Hard at 8-1. First of all, if you want the full analysis of the Tampa Bay Derby from Jared Welch, he did that over at the YouTube channel. And spoiler alert, he likes Strike Hard a little bit as well here. If Classic Causeway hates the sloppy track, to me, this is actually the horse that I fell on. Not Shipsational, but this one as the one that I think will like it the most. He does have the ability. He doesn't always show up, but he has the ability to be forwardly placed. And we're getting Luis Saez aboard, and that really caught my attention. I'm like, why? Saez never rides for this barn that's only had 56 starters all of last year. The only starter that he's had at the meet has been Strike Hard. This is a very small barn. Why is Saez riding? The horse has got speed, and we could have a really sloppy track going 2 turns. So I like that about him. But also, let's look at that breeding. And I'm not talking about Flashback and Tap It. I'm talking about Coco Sweetie and 10 Pins. Mike, do you know who 10 Pins is?
It's a horse.
10 Pins is a Michigan-bred son of Smart Strike who won 3 of 4 starts on muddy tracks, all at actual tracks, not Michigan tracks, including the Grade 3 Fayette Stakes at Keeneland. I think this horse is super sneaky if this becomes a complete bog, and if Classic Causeway doesn't like it. Give me Strike Hard and Luis Saez for the upset, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Strike Hard has also, faced Simplification and White Abario and Major General and got absolutely mopped up by Major General, actually. Oh, well, you know what? Let's take Major General as the other horse instead. Because if you want to talk about a good pedigree for an off track, how about we talk about Constitution out of an Uncle Mo mare? Okay? Sloppier the better for the 8. And this is like, we did a video on Pletcher, and one of the horses we mentioned was Major General coming back and possibly being a Derby horse. Look, Pletcher has definitely let us down a couple times on this Derby trail. This horse has done absolutely nothing wrong. I literally mean nothing wrong. He's undefeated, 2-0, 2 for 2. Won the Grade 3 Iroquois right off of a win at Saratoga, breaking his maiden, and what I thought was a really impressive maiden breaking score. Was able to do that wire to wire. Was able to come from off the pace at a mile and a 16th. This horse will love the off track. Will love it. Like, this Constitution has consistently been one of the best sloppy track sires. Uncle Mo, another wonderful sloppy track sire. And here we're looking at the mare's Uncle Mo. I think the 8 could take a major step forward. And the biggest thing to me is we talked about with these unknowns, right? Money Supply would have been the horse I'd used, except Practical Joke is a problem going 2 turns. So I'm not going to use the 11 Money Supply. The 8 has an infinite upside in this spot. You have absolutely no clue how good this 8 could be. And the fact that we were able to break our maiden at Saratoga first effort, which is not an easy thing to do, go right into a Grade 3 at Churchill and win in a mile 16th coming from off the pace, which we've never done, which is not an easy thing to do. We've checked every box here. This horse could take a step forward and beat this field. And if Classic Causeway doesn't fire for some reason, this is the horse that I want.
You just convinced me. I looked up Constitution's wet route sires 22 or 23%. I was like, shit, we're putting the Major General on the ticket. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 4-7-8 here.
The bottom half is excellent as well. Like, Uncle Mo is an excellent off-track sire. So having Uncle Mo come out of who was, by the way, 1 for 1 with 118 buyer the one time he ran
winning the Kelso,
yeah, pretty good, pretty good. So yeah, to me the 8 horse is the one that takes a huge step forward, and again the upside is just it's massive. You have no idea how much this horse could run a 95 buyer, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, that's the thing. You could see a 20-30 buyer point jump, and it wouldn't surprise me because we don't know how good Major General is. We don't know how good Money Supply is, but I think the 2 turns thing is a problem. We have a pretty good idea of how good everybody else is. And so for me, I'll take the unknown and the 8 Major General is my second horse.
Let's bring up, you just went too deep here. Nick brings up a wild card horse for him, the 10 Belgrade. Look at that, perfectly put on the screen too. First time around 2 turns, forwardly placed for Grand Motion. You've got Hector Diaz Jr. in 20-1 in a huge purchase, $700K off a $35K stud fee. Must have been a private purchase because it's showing up as $45K for me. So they must have privately purchased after winning, breaking the maiden at Fairgrounds last fall.
Yeah, I mean that I'm seeing the $45K as well. I mean, it's aggressive. That's the one thing I could say about the placement. It's a big step up. I wouldn't talk anyone off it at 20-1, but it's one of those where I would rather have a horse in a different leg at 20-1 than this leg at 20-1, just because I'm a pretty big fan of Classic Causeway and Major General in this spot. But that's more because of who I like in this race versus saying the 10's got no shot.
Mark says he's with us singling the 4 Classic Causeway in the pick 4 and spreading with the pick 3 if all hell breaks loose. That's not a terrible idea. And he was going 3, 4, 8, 9. So he's liking Shipsational the 9. I didn't use, but I wouldn't be upset if this horse won, because I do like the story about Ed Barker. He's a New York claiming trainer, and he's like, he's never even visited Churchill Downs. It's not that he hasn't been to the Kentucky Derby with the horse. He's literally never been to the track before. So it'd be pretty cool. Why did you not use this horse, I guess, is my question.
Last time was the chance in my mind. Like, if Shipstation was going to beat Classic Causeway, last time was the chance to do it. I think this is going to be an easier setup for Classic Causeway than it was last race, where he, just really had to go balls to the wall right from the beginning to be able to be forwardly placed, get a lead, and then be able to pull free. I mean, he went 22-3, 46-3 in that race. That was fast and did not come back to them. Like, to me, that's the biggest issue with a horse like Shipsational, is that I don't see. You got to make the argument that, okay, well, Shipsational is going to take a huge step forward second off the layoff, and that's going to flip the 3.25 lengths difference. The problem is it's also second off the layoff here for Classic Causeway. So you can't really say one's going to take a step forward and the other isn't. So then what in the trip made you think that you're going to be able to make up 3.75 lengths? And to me, the better trip was actually probably by the 9, who got the setup that you wanted to be able to run into a pace, versus versus Classic Causeway, who had to set the pace. So I would almost argue that Classic Causeway has more upside second off a layoff than Shipsational does. But again, like, if you're getting the right price, then I would start to make the argument. I would probably want around 10-1 on the 9.
I think the attachment with the 9 is just that the multiple off-track wins and the nice buyers for doing so. I think if you're a supporter of Shipsational, you are expecting that 3.75 length difference to be made up when the track just literally gets flipped on its head. And we won't know if that happens until we get there. 2 more horses to talk about, just a little bit of time. The 11 Money Supply, Chad Brown, debuts at 6 furlongs, wins, now stretches out to 2 turns for a stakes. He did this with early voting, but for me, I didn't want to do it because it's Practical Joke as the top sire there. But I don't know. This isn't like, again, maybe something happens here. Was Practical Joke what scared you away?
No, I think that's a false. I think the buyer is wrong. That's what scared me away.
Like, 91 at Tampa for a debut 6 furlong effort isn't that doesn't stand out to you?
48 to 1 shot runs second, then gets an 86 buyer from a barn that's 0 for 22 at Tampa and was 2 for 140 in 2021. Got an 86 buyer for running second in that race. I mean, come on, like this, come on, and that's when you dig deeper. The 3rd place horse was a first time starter for the Pletcher barn that ran big, got an 86 buyer back as well. And okay, yeah, you can start to make a case for that, but then you dig a little deeper. The 4th place horse got a 79 buyer first time out. He got a 27 buyer. It's a little bit big of a step forward. The 5th place horse got a 78 buyer. His 3 previous buyers were 51, 60, and 50. Like, everything about that race tells me that it's a faulty buyer, that the number came back significantly higher. And I think there's a bunch of reasons why it could have happened. It was a quick race, but like, a lot of times you can find these races where it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like in this case, every other horse in the race's buyer that they got doesn't make sense. So why should I believe that this 11's buyer does make sense, right?
Yeah, I think I'm with Mike. I'll let you beat me when you do that. I mean, if the horse had won by 10 or something like that, or did it completely effortless, I mean, then you maybe, but even then it's kind of hard to make a case.
Well, ironically, if he gets a 91 and the people behind him get like 72s and 73s and he won by 12, different story. Because then, like, yeah, they all ran to what they did and he ran this race. But like, you're telling me that everyone in that race improved by 15 to 20% from their previous starts? And this, like, no, that's like the time is what created this number that came back. And I just don't believe that the number is correct in this spot.
Last one to talk about, the 12 spin wheelies in our fantasy league, and I want to talk about it because Dan is going to text me about it, and I'll say, Dan, just go listen to the Magic Mike show. We talked about spin wheel. 20 to 1 here. To me, this is a turf horse through and through, and I keep trying to tell Dan that. They debuted him on the turf at Saratoga. His dam was grade 3 place turf routing. He is a turf horse. Stop trying the Kentucky Derby trail with him.
He'll like the wet. There's a positive thing. All right, let's move on.
There we go. Where's the brand? There it is. That's going to do this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to go through the all stakes pick 4 sequence at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday, March 12th. Remember, that is races 8 through 11, not 9 through 12. If you're watching the replay or live, thanks for joining us. Give us a like, a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And down below, we've got our tickets. I'll start with mine for 50 cents. 149 with 579 with 38 with 478, adding the major general there. That's $27. And then for $5 ticket, really pressing my opinions, 1-9 chucking the favorite, then 7-9 singling the 3, singling Classic Causeway. That is a $20 ticket, Mr. Somich.
I'm just going to play 150-cent ticket here because I'm spending a little bit more money than you are on yours. So I'm going to kick this puppy off with 3, 5, 8, 9 with 3, 6, 7 with 2, 5, 6, 9 with 4, 8 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $48.
Command Performance, the long-awaited return in a maiden special weight event, is going to be a Tampa Bay Downs drilling card, and Jared Welch is crossing his fingers and toes that the horse wins. Nick asked, will he be the most single horse of the weekend earlier on the card? Has to be.
I don't know if I can, not just yes, this is like a hell yes. It's not even going to be close. And the main reason isn't just because he's coming back. It's also who he's facing. This field left a little bit to be desired here. If he doesn't win, 25K claimers are where we should end up next.
I mean, it's like this is an easier spot than when he's going to be in one of those Thursday races that they write for Pletcher because he's got an Emmanuel that just needs another race. This should be so. If he doesn't win this, I mean,
yeah.
Oh boy, Major General's his last shot.
It's interesting because I know that I think I don't know if it was Jared Aaron posted on there, and Justin it's one of my friends. He comes back and says, "Hey, I know he likes the horse. I know he has him. I think it's 60-1 or 90-1 to win the Derby." And I agree with both of them. Look, this is where he should show up, and he should romp on this field and then go into a prep race. That's exactly what you're hoping for, right? And so he got the field to romp on. I don't care who the field is, who's in the field. All I care is that the horse wins and wins convincingly. I want a 4 or 5 length win without completely under wraps. That's what I'm looking for here. We get that. We move on to a major prep race. We run first, second, or third. We're in the Derby gate, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I don't think he ends up in the Florida Derby either way. I think this is bluegrass to me. I think that you just don't have enough time. To get back into the Florida Derby. So I think you're going to see Command Performance in the bluegrass. I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing Todd send horses to Tampa or to the Florida Derby. So I think you're going to see Command Performance there as long as he does well on Saturday.
Well, so building off the next question, is he the favorite in the bluegrass in this scenario then? It's hard because McPeak has got 3 different horses all aiming for 20 different races. So, but I would take, if Command Performance wins by 10, how is he? I don't know. He's Pletcher.
I'm going to go
for the
no.
name on the jersey.
Yeah, I'm still going no. I don't think the field is so bad. If he wins he needs to run a monster race for the rest for this to show up, right? And maybe he runs huge and maybe he gets a 95 buyer, then yes, he'll definitely be the favorite in that race. But I just don't see him running a monster number back because I don't think he's going to need to. And I think that's going to keep him from being the favorite in a race like the Bluegrass. And I have a feeling that the Bluegrass may get a couple horses that have actually run well in other preps that are trying to make sure they're in the Derby field that end up showing up there. And one of them ends up being the favorite who, ran third in Louisiana or ran, what if Shipsational shows up there after running second in both races at Tampa in the Sam F. Davis and the Tampa Bay Derby? He's probably going to be favored over this horse. To me, it's one of those where we'll see what happens, but I would be surprised if he ends up as the favorite.
Mark says you can put Nike on a minor leaguer, but he's still a minor leaguer. I don't know if he's talking about the horses in the field, one of these Pletchers, or if he's talking about Dale Romans and Giant Game because he's been throwing shade at that guy too.
I mean, Dale Romans and Kenny McPeak,
what are you doing?
We have a better chance of winning a claim than figuring out what the hell's going through these people's minds right now with some of these horses. It's ridiculous. So we'll see where they end up and where they run. And I just the plans I don't get it.
That's okay, Mike. Their misfortune and poor mistakes lead to us getting, better prices and good win bets in. So it all works out. Hey, listen, the Blinkers Off guys are going to be on later today. They're covering all of the Tampa Bay card stakes. So if you're interested in playing that, it's like getting the Inside Track wagering guide, but for free because you get the 2 of them doing it minus my editing. So sorry if there's some things that are misspelled when they're talking, but it was a lot of fun doing this show. I hope we pleased everybody by talking about the future. I'm just kidding. One of our followers gave us a little bunch of crap. I'm just giving him crap. He knows that I'm joking.
We didn't go to Fairgrounds that one weekend. And there was 2 reasons. First off, we're doing a live stream and we did a pick 4 for that. So we didn't do it for that reason. And secondly, Fairgrounds takeout sucks. They are 25% on the pick 4. And one of the things that I consistently harp on is we don't want to give love to the places that the takeout sucks. And unfortunately, Fairgrounds is one of those tracks where it sucks. So we did a Gulfstream sequence that day. I stand by the decision.
I stand by the decision. I still think I had a better shot of hitting it at Gulfstream than I did at Fairgrounds. I'm I want to give out a winning ticket there. Mark says, I think those two smoked some Pineapple Express before picking spots. You're thinking that the state called the Bluegrass would have some good stuff, but guess not. Maybe not, because it's blue. Maybe that's why it's not good there.
No, that would, I don't know if I'd want anything that's blue. That would freak me out a little bit.
Let's get out of here. Check out the Blinkers Off, guys. They'll be on at 4 Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We have previews for the Captiva Island Stakes with this guy right here. This is Gulfstream Park. Ironically, Gulfstream's supposed to have a pretty good day weather-wise on Saturday. So if you want to play turf, go to Gulfstream. And then we also have the Tampa Bay Derby preview that Jared did.
If you also don't look at replays and want to learn how I look at them, we actually did a specific replay breakdown for that Captiva Island race. And it's kind of like I go into how I watch replays and what I'm looking for in some cases. So if you don't and you want to see, or you're just interested in seeing how I do it, that's one of the things that I think is interesting about that specific video we did.
That was really great. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And we tried something new. So if you like it, let us know. Tell us in the comments and we can start playing around with that stuff more. But I don't know. The Red Wings game is tonight. I've started drinking because the Red Wings lost a couple nights ago to Phoenix at home, 9-2. It was so bad.
They just scored another goal.
Nedeljkovic, God damn, I knew it. That's what my phone's going off for. It's not because baseball's back, because Phoenix is still scoring. Nedeljkovic got pulled, and then the backup did so poorly. They're like, no, throw Ned back in. And Ned's like, I don't want to go in. It was bad. So now it's Minnesota, and they actually have players. It's gonna be a rough night.
Yeah, that's when you just send in the Zamboni driver, like what was it? Like Carolina did against Toronto.
Against Toronto, using Toronto's minor league Zamboni driver. Freaking all, I love that story.
Dude got a Young Gun card too. It's like the most collectible rookie in hockey cards. He got a Young Gun card for playing that one game, which I thought was kind of cool as well.
I'm brought excited, that up on the show. It was the best thing that you had on the show. I remember that now.
Was it? Oh, there you go. Well, let's bring it back.
Full of good ideas, Mike.
Bring it back to episode like 210 or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited for hockey to come down the stretch here. Looking forward to the playoffs. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. We got Tampa Bay coming up. Obviously, it was nice to take a little bit of breaks from these mandatories. We've had like 4 of them in the last week and a half or two, so it's nice to get the last one to Parks out of the way on Wednesday. And now it's some fun tournaments. We got some fun tracks over the weekend. So looking forward to it.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb, 18, number 1, number 8, corporate overlords at racing_dudes. Blinkers off at 4 p.m. in just about an hour. Until Monday when Mike and I are back, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, guys.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels. Never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,